senator with aspirations to become California governor, be punishing Turan for her role in DA George Gascon's police accountability agenda to curry favor with police unions? Could DA Gascon be using the case against Price to showcase his tough stance on crime and political corruption as he vies to retain his seat as DA? Honestly, I have no idea, but here's what I know for sure. Curran Price has been elected and re-elected by thousands of voters, mostly black and brown, who stand to be further disenfranchised if this matter is not handled correctly, which is why it matters to us at KBLA Talk 1580. When the prosecutor is being prosecuted, it seems to me that at the very least, there ought to be a thorough, top-to-bottom, independent review of all cases under Diana Turan's purview to ensure that none of these cases have been tainted. Justice and fundamental fairness demand no less, if public trust truly matters. And I hope it does. For KBLA Talk 1580, I'm Tavis Smiley. We welcome your feedback.
KBLA Talk 1580, or several trillion, perhaps. It is time for Freedmen Fridays. We do this every Friday, second hour of the show, 7 o'clock Pacific time. It's a comprehensive reparations conversation meant to make sure we are knowledgeable, that we are part of the solution, part of the momentum, and that's our purpose. All comers, welcome. All philosophies, organizations, welcome. And I am pleased to bring into the conversation today a voice we haven't heard before. She's a Cape Verdean American community organizer and politician, a state senator representing Massachusetts Senate's 2nd Suffolk District after winning a 5-way Democratic primary election and advancing to an uncontested race in the 2022 general election. State Senator Liz Miranda, welcome.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
You know, the state of reparations in the United States at this moment is much more advanced than I ever thought it would be, as someone who's been talking about this for more than 20 years on the radio. So I want to start with the most basic thing. I mean, you've been a champion of reparations in your state. What brought you to the conversation?
Well, thank you for allowing me to join you here from the East Coast. I know you guys are on the West Coast, and I just heard a familiar voice a couple moments ago as I was listening in. And I was a former radio personality as well, and so I wanted to say,
I didn't know that.
Raspy voices unite, right? I think for me, my work to create reparative justice started a long time ago. You mentioned that I'm Cape Verdean, which is a West African nation. There's a lot of people who are Cape Verdean also in California, but mostly in Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. And I grew up in a community that was like many other inner city communities, Roxbury, New Additions, Roxbury. And, I started to understand that what I was taught in school about Massachusetts playing a role in the abolitionist movement was true, but there was this but, right? And this but, was this sort of imaging that Massachusetts had for hundreds of years, that this was the seat of abolition. But it also was the first state to make slavery legal. It was the first state to also abolish it, but it did not abolish slavery. because it felt like it, or that the legislative body that now I can be a member of, which did not allow women and did not allow people of color or Black people, it was a state that made a lot of money on slavery. We captained the ships, we built the ships, we sold African people and indigenous people for sugar and rum in the Caribbean, and created this cycle of slavery all across the 13 colonies. And so learning that in community, learning that in my Black Studies class, learning that at Wellesley, where I went to undergrad, when I came out, I did not pursue this history as a sort of a career path. I kind of did it as a hobby, you know, something that helped me catapult myself and my confidence, understanding my people. But when I got in the legislature, I realized that there was this huge moment and opportunity as it was sweeping across the country. You mentioned this movement momentum around thinking about what is owed to Black people in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And I learned a lot and a great deal from that experience.
Yeah, I mean, just preparing for this interview, I learned some things. I did not realize that Massachusetts was the first state or colony to legalize the enslavement of Black people.
In 1641. And, you know, one of the things that isn't told is that there's a lot of history that starts and is told to Black people and Black communities about when slavery begins. But what you have in Massachusetts is Black people, Africans, have actually been documented of being here since 1637. And they came aboard this ship called the Desire. And there's this movement to acknowledge that, you know, Black people and Africans were not in the Commonwealth and not in the 13 colonies, just in, you know, 1500, 1600, 1700, 1800, 1900, 2000, but that we've been here since the inception of the state. You know, you think about Massachusetts, 1620, a few months after Jamestown, Virginia. And so we had a role to play not only in the civil rights movement and abolition, which we like to talk about. We like to talk about Dr. King coming here and being educated at theology school at BU. We like to talk about how we were the first chartered branch of the NAACP here in Boston. We like to talk about the huge abolition movement and Underground Railroad, but we don't like to talk about the fact that we participated in this institution of slavery, and that it had an economic boom for early American prosperity. A lot of the Brahmins in New England made a lot of money, you know, not only shipping and selling Black men and women across the colonies into the Caribbean, but in the shipbuilding, in the maritime industry that supported this institution.
Interesting. Well, some of us have heard about the city of Boston's Reparations Commission, and actually, it seemed pretty surprising. I've only been to Boston a couple times, but its reputation is not one of being racially progressive or, you know, advanced in its anti-Blackness. So how did that come about, and where are we with that now?
So the Reparations Citywide Task Force, which was voted in by Boston City Council and Mayor Wu, is separate but aligned with what we're doing across the state. So I'm a state senator. I'm one of only 2 Black women in the state Senate in Massachusetts. There are 200 legislators. There's 2 other Black women who actually sit in the House of Reps. And we are part of 24 members who are Black and Latino out of the Black and Latino Legislative Caucus. The city of Boston is separate. The town of Amherst, for example, started this movement along with Asheville, North Carolina, and they were 2 out of the earliest cities and towns to adopt sort of these, groupings or task forces or community groups to really start to study the impact of slavery on their town and what does it mean for reparative justice for their people. Massachusetts has 351 cities and towns. And so what I mean about alignment is I'm studying very closely. We're very active in looking at my city of Boston. I represent a third of the city of Boston in the state legislature. I have the Black seat. But we want to make sure that whatever Boston is doing trickles and spreads all across the Commonwealth. And the only way we can do that is through legislative action. And so when I first got elected in 2022 to the Senate, I had already been a state rep for 4 years. And when I was a state rep, I filed 2 bills, which I call the Truth and Reconciliation Committee. And those commissions did not pass. But we, in 2022, when we came back, there was this horse from many organizations, including the Massachusetts Black Reparations Collective. There was like these 10 other organizations, the Black Economic Council. We had Embrace Boston. I don't know if you've heard, but we just created this monument to Dr. King and the organization that supports that, and Repair America Collective, just to name a few.
I did not, no. Mm-hmm.
They came, we did. It's called The Embrace. It's beautiful. It's on Boston Common, and it's based on a picture between Dr. King and Coretta Scott King.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that. That was a whole controversy about that. I do remember, yeah.
Yes, because they were like, where's his face? Where's his body?
Right.
You know, and this force came from community, and the community came to me and was like, Senator Miranda, we know that you're going to file bills within weeks of you being inaugurated. We want you to be a leader in filing a bill on reparations. So there were 2 different groups, and one group came to me, and I filed 1053, which is a bill that establishes a commission to study reparations.
Yeah. I did want to get into that. I wanted to talk about the state, but I just wanted to start with the city commission, because we know that came first and it's actually active. Yeah. And so, you know, and it's similar to what we've seen in other places. Actually, in California, it went the opposite way. The state bill came first, and then we started to see cities establish commissions. But it seems like it's gone both ways, and there are different ways of building momentum. So we'll continue this conversation just to get some clarity, you know, what's happening on the citywide level and what you are proposing on the state level with these 2 bills. We'll get some clarity on that. I might have to ask you what it's like being a radio personality and going into politics. People are always trying to tell me to do that, but I don't know. I like my microphone. And we got a lot more to talk about. What does that exactly look like? Because, you know, what we're calling reparations has become certainly a hot topic in the state of California, and hopefully that is informing the work of lawmakers across the country. We got a lot to talk about. We are KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
So the thing no one tells you about periods is that your flow changes every day, and so should your tampon size. Tampax has 5 absorbencies to match your changing flow. If it's uncomfortable to remove, go down a size. If it leaks, go up a size. And only Tampax has a leak guard braid to help give you up to 100% leak and odor-free protection. All-day comfort and protection for up to 8 hours for under $5 a month. Based on average U.S. consumer usage at manufacturer's suggested price, however, pricing is at the sole discretion of the retailer, excludes 8-count packs.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles is a nonprofit law firm that protects and advances the rights of the most underserved, leveling the playing field and ensuring that everyone can have access to the justice system. Every year, LAFLA provides free, high-quality legal services to more than 100,000 people living in poverty across greater Los Angeles. Their unique combination of neighborhood offices, self-help centers at courthouses, and domestic violence clinics puts Legal Aid Foundation of Los Angeles on the front lines in vulnerable communities and at the forefront of change. LAFLA's expert team of attorneys, paralegals, and support staff works to provide direct representation, offer counsel and advice, provide referrals, and educate the community about their legal rights through workshops and seminars. With locations all over LA, you can access their services or volunteer to help no matter where you live. And if you have an urgent issue, call 213-235-0060. That's 213-235-0060. To get legal help, make a donation, or volunteer, visit lafla.org. lafla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
I spray and scrub, but the soap scum in my bathtub is still there.
I spray and scrub, but the burnt sauce on my stovetop sticks around.
Sprays can leave grime behind, but new Mr. Clean Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser combines the scrubbing power of an eraser with the cleaning power of Dawn to melt away tough messes on contact.
Just wet, squeeze, and erase.
Stop spraying, start erasing, and clean with more magic than ever with new Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
And it is Freedmen Friday. This is where we focus on reparations. You are invited in, 800-920-1580. You can see me, at least, on YouTube, youtube.com, KBLA 1580. There's always a great conversation going on YouTube as folks watch, particularly on Freedmen Friday. So you might want to hop into that conversation. So we're talking with State Senator Liz Miranda, and she's representing the 2nd Suffolk District in Massachusetts, a third of Boston, as you said. And I started out just asking about, knowing that you've got bills on the table for a state task force, started out asking about the city because one of the things I'm reading, and I'm not sure if this is Boston or one of the other cities you mentioned, that they're saying they need more time.
Yeah, so we, the interesting thing about the task force in the city of Boston, we love task forces, working groups in the Commonwealth, but we also like commissions, and commissions really take their work, and sometimes they're full of crap, actually. But we had a very successful commission, for example, on Black maternal health that has pushed legislation. But commissions do a really great job of gathering all the information across the Commonwealth. And we are looking at them closely because they just have met for about a year and they've had some actions. And one of the actions that they came up with is that they're granting organizations and individuals and historians and community groups, they're putting money toward them actually helping them cultivate the best report possible about what the city of Boston should do in terms of reparative justice for residents of the city of Boston. And so we have taken that on. We loosely created our commission. There were 10 organizations and hundreds of people who joined in across the state to tell us what they'd like to see. And it has been extended by the Judiciary Committee until July 31st. So we have about, I would say, less than 10 days to think about getting it across the finish line, or we'll have to come back next year to actually fight to get a favorable report out of that committee. And it builds a commission of 15 members who will research, gather evidence, and they'll compile this documentation. If you've been studying the California's bill, which I'm sure you have, they did one report that had like 500 pages, and then they came back with another report that had over 1,000 pages. So we're hoping that over the next year, we'll actually be able to collect that much data to not rival California, because I think we're in tandem with each other trying to pass reparative justice bills across the country. So really excited about that. And I've learned a great deal from the task force, and there's some professors who are on that task force that actually wrote the commission bill for the state.
Okay, so it sounds like actually that there's still quite a bit of work to do and a lot of fighting going on there. And like you said, I think these things all feed each other. So now at the same time, you are looking to level this up to the state, a state level of a commission or a task force or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, it's a commission, and the commission will be charged with holding hearings. They will request testimony, both in person, online, or through the phone. They will get research and documents. And what's exciting about particularly here in Massachusetts. We have Harvard that has a whole department dedicated to studying slavery and its impact over the last 4 generations. We have the Center for Anti-Racist Studies at Boston University. We have Africana departments all across the state at different schools, including UMass Amherst. I remember me saying about the town of Amherst being one of the first towns in the country to actually create a task force before Boston. And then we have UMass Boston, which is my direct partner in this piece of legislation. And there is a lot of fighting left to do. There's a lot of work, but the movement and the momentum has been very strong. We've already received hundreds of emails. People have testified already in front of the Judiciary Committee. They hold weekly and monthly calls that get between 100 to 250 people who are all interested in seeing this to pass.
Oh, that's amazing. So I'm sure you're also getting pushback.
You know, if I am getting pushback, it's not overt, which is like when you spoke earlier about Massachusetts and Boston's legacy. You know, we in the 70s were catapulted to national inquiry because of busing. We also had a problem with segregated schools. We continually have this problem with the disparities in education, as our school system is 84% of color in the city of Boston. And we saw those images of a Black man being stabbed with a flagpole. We saw kids getting rocks thrown at buses. We saw parents blocking kids from getting to the schools just to get an education because they didn't want Black kids in their neighborhoods, and they sure as hell didn't want their white kids to go to these separate and unequal schools. And what we find is that image is lingered on in practice. And the opportunity here is to be able to take that and say, hey, this is real. This is our historical context in our city and our state, and we want to make sure we rectify this for Black people who've been feeling the effects of slavery. And the only pushback that I've gotten has been like, the committee deadline has been extended. July 31st is our last day of session. It's the last possible day for it to actually pass. And so that makes it very difficult for someone like me to ensure that that gets past this session. It's almost like impossible. The second pushback has been around language. There's a lot of collective organizations that want the bill to have something. Some people want freedmen. Some people want descendants of Africans. Some people want other things. Inclusive, Boston is a very diverse city of Black people. Not all Black people came in the 16 and 1700s. We have a Caribbean population here that's third in the nation. We have African groups like Nigerians, Cape Verdeans, Ghanaians, and Somalians and Ethiopians who make a large percentage of our Black population. And folks are saying, hey, maybe you don't think that they came to this country through the transatlantic slave trade, but where do you think the Africans came from? You know, that even though they came later, how do we separate the families and the lineage of families who came here by force and those of us who have come the last 200 or so years through other means? And so that's been most of the pushback. I think for progressive people in the Commonwealth, they want to see this done. My colleagues, Massachusetts is very Democratic, but because we're very Democratic, the diversity in who is a Democrat, it's been real crazy. You know, you have someone who says, well, I'm a moderate and conservative Democrat. I'm like, where did they do that at? You know?
Yeah. But that question, really of like who is eligible has been a sticking point. I think that California, you know, it might not be perfect what California did, but I think what California did is pretty good because there does have to be recognition of the fact of people who were actually enslaved, their descendants, and also recognition of the impacts of Jim Crow and the subsequent harms. agree, disagree. Like, I think to sort of try to skip over the fact that descendants of enslaved Africans in America, or FBA, or freedmen, or Negroes, or whatever you want to call us, do have a special burden and a special place in this country. I think skipping over that, which some progressives do, is problematic.
I agree. And that, that's what I was sharing in terms of the pushback, was that these groups are forming little collectives, and oftentimes when the debate or the conversation comes about reparations, they're making a valid point, that, the unequal access started long before Jim Crow. And when you see the impacts in healthcare, housing, employment, education, for folks that say, well, that was so long ago, it's this intergenerational trauma that's been infected and impacted our people for a very long time. So I would agree with you. And that's been some of my conversations back, is that reparative justice first and primarily should be to the descendants of those that were forced into the transatlantic slave institution, particularly those in the Americas.
I mean, and we in California, they also stated that those people, I think it's I don't have the report in front of me. I think it's 1850 or something. If you're a black person with ancestors who were here at that time, you're factored in. And obviously those that came later still have the impacts of Jim Crow and all of the other harms which continue to perpetuate that wealth gap. So when we come forward after news, traffic, and sports, I want to talk about where you go after July 31st, and how this fits in to the national moment that we're having. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Flights across the U.S. are being grounded this morning due to communication issues. The FAA says airlines like Delta, United, American, and Allegiant all grounded flights, with only American now saying that they're slowly starting to come back online. The disruptions come as the cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike is reporting a major outage affecting scores of businesses. They say the issue is with its latest Microsoft update and is not linked in any way to a cybersecurity attack. The first black man to become president of an NFL team will soon be leaving the Washington Commanders. The Commanders confirmed yesterday that Jason Wright will have a senior advisory role with the team until he departs at the end of the year. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Blindster is a family-run business that began in 2010, and we've sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters and received over 100,000 five-star reviews. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
Is this the tether? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Bronny James had another productive game for the Lakers rookie team in the NBA Summer League in Las Vegas. LeBron's son had 13 points, 3 assists, and 2 block shots in 25 minutes against Cleveland. Lakers first-round pick Dalton Knecht had 20 points and 7 rebounds and was 4 for 4 at the free throw line. The Lakers won the game by 4. In the Russell Westbrook trade that sent him to Utah, the Clippers are getting back a 30-year-old guard named Chris Dunn. The Clippers will be his 6th team in 9 NBA seasons. Dunn was a first-round pick of Minnesota in 2016, but he was traded a year later. Tiger Woods did not have a good first day at the British Open. He finished 8 over 79 in the first round to finish in a tie for 138th place. Woods needs to shoot in the low 70s in today's second round to make the cut. If he doesn't, this will be the 3rd straight majors tournament where he has failed to make the cut. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk Radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Looks like Bobby needs a ride again.
Grab the keys.
Let's take our auntie to the swap meet.
Grab the keys.
Whether you're giving rides or hauling gear, do it all in a Chevy SUV. Head to your local Chevy dealer, where well-qualified buyers get 1.9% financing on all 2024 Malibu, Colorado, Blazer, Equinox, Trailblazer, and Traverse limited models. Chevrolet, together, let's drive.
1.9% APR for 36 months. Monthly payment is $28.60 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment 15.8% must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 7/1/24.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Tune in to More Than That with Gia Peppers live this Sunday at 4 p.m. or wherever you listen to podcasts. This episode of More Than That is brought to you by Buick, combining beauty and technology to deliver luxurious experiences. Buick, exceptional by design.
It's better over here. If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has an exclusive rate plan just for you. Right now, get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings versus Verizon and AT&T. Plus, you can get one of the latest 5G phones free when you add a line. That's right, a free 5G phone. Experience all this and more on America's largest 5G network. So why wait? At T-Mobile, customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Just go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 or visit your local store to make the switch.
With AutoPay using debit or bank account plus taxes and fees, 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Free phones up to $300 off with 24 monthly bill credits and qualifying new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 device connection charge. Contact us before canceling entire account to continue remaining bill credits. Bill credits end if you pay off device early. See details at T-Mobile.com.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio. KBLA Talk 1580.
We're talking with State Senator Liz Miranda from Massachusetts, author of Bill 1050 and 1053, both related to reparations. 1053 is establishing a commission to study reparations in Massachusetts, and 1050 an act creating reparations for the descendants of American slavery and piloting universal basic income program. Why do you need both of these bills? And you said, well, let's start there. And then you said you've got till July 31st, which is in 10 minutes. And currently it's in committee, right?
Yes, it is. It's in the Judiciary Committee.
They're both in committee.
So we necessarily do not need both bills, but in Massachusetts, when a constituent or an advocacy body comes to a legislator with a bill, we can file it by request. And so 1050 came from a group of individuals in my district, and you normally just file these bills because it's a courtesy to the people who elect you to serve in the body. And they've also been supportive of any type of reparative justice legislation. And that one, what's really interesting, it actually imposes this excise tax on educational institutions with assets over $1.5 billion, excluding religious ones. And if you know anything, the endowment of Harvard, Boston University, Boston College, Wellesley, my alma mater, most of these institutions have endowments in the billions of dollars. And so they're hoping that will actually create the fund for the reparations for descendants of American slavery, because nationally, some groups have been really upset with legislative agendas that do not include money for the descendants of slavery, because this had a lot to do with people getting rich off of Black people's bodies, right? And Black people's hands in this country. And so folks are like, reparative justice is not reparative justice if we don't include money. And 1053 was the bill that I've worked mostly on with this group of 10 organizations that we did a lot of due diligence on.
And how does the universal basic income part play in? Is that just something that this organization that brought it to you thought should be included? What's the interaction there between reparations and UBI?
Well, what they saw was I actually have been filing a bill for the last 5 years, also inspired by California, and I think it's New York, around universal basic income. Like, can we give families and young people, my bill was specifically around young people coming out of foster care. As you all know, that like when a young person turns 18, many times they're removed from a system that's been taking care of them for a very long time, and they don't have the resources to get on their feet. Like, Massachusetts is a very expensive state to live in. And so the pilot was an idea to give every young person coming out of foster care in the Commonwealth a certain set of funds that will help them with rent, travel, food, to help them get on their feet. And so what they were thinking was that when the excise tax is imposed and this fund is created, that literally descendants of slavery who can prove that their lineage traces back to the institution of slavery will then be given a set amount of a monthly payment. Now, they didn't craft their bill with all the details, because normally when you create a bill and you have a commission, you can study the pieces of their sort of angle. Their angle is like, hey, we excise tax, we create this fund, we give people money every month. And we've actually seen UBI work.
Yeah.
There's lots of UBI initiatives. Particularly, I work a lot in Black maternal health, for example, giving new mothers or pregnant people money a month, like $500 or $1,000. During COVID-19, we gave a lot of people here in Massachusetts universal basic income. My sister city of Cambridge, where Harvard and MIT are located, just piloted a UBI initiative with their poorest low-income families, and it's working. People are not using the money for drugs or for splurges. What we're seeing them, they're paying off bills. They're investing in things that bring the quality of life for their families. They're buying more food and healthier options. So we see that UBI actually works. And so that's an interesting part of their bill that I'd like to see the commission study.
Yeah, we've seen the same thing with the UBI experiments here in California, where, in Stockton and in Compton, they've piloted these programs for a year or more. And then what they find out is that people they fix their cars, they get clothing so they can get a job. They may invest in some enrichment programs for their children, and it's the reason I laugh when you said that is we had what's now become a semi-viral argument on this show with one of the talking points against reparations is you can't give Black people reparations because they'll waste the money on Gucci and drugs and blah blah blah. Which to me, it's none of your business. If a debt is owed to me and I want to waste the money, that's my prerogative. But it's also not something that the data support.
Right. It doesn't. And all the data is just misinformation and disinformation.
So where do we go from here if, look at me, I sound like I live in Massachusetts. Where do we go from here if your bills don't pass by July 31st?
We come back. We spend the fall working out the kinks and building the advocacy arm to ensure that when we refile, this is Plan B, of course, we refile in January, that there's stronger momentum to get the bill not only across the finish line, but hopefully off the finish line quicker. So we have 2-year terms here in Massachusetts. In the first year of a term, we do a lot of work to pass lots of pieces of legislation. So it's not necessarily, it doesn't mean that it's denied. It just means it's delayed. If we are successful, Plan A, then we start meeting as a commission. We are going to put forth probably 25 to 30 names to fill the 15 slots. And this collective of organizations that's been working with me, their number one goal is that we pick the right people to be on this commission.
Yep.
And that is something that because, it could go way wrong if we have a bunch of people that, one, can't get along to see it through, or two, don't have the academic acumen or the data statistics to prove our point, which we want to do. And so there was this really great harm report. I just want folks to check it out by Embrace Boston, which is a member of this collective, that came out with 8 harm areas. Not only do they believe that reparative justice is direct cash payments, but looking at housing, transportation, education, of course, the criminal legal system, health, income and wealth, culture, symbols, and climate, because we know a lot of our communities that are also Black and brown are also environmental justice communities. That is why the debt is owed, because it's not just in the peculiar institution and the abuse and harm and murder and pillage and rape of our people, but it's also seen in all of these other areas that we need to survive, to thrive, that Black people are impacted with it. So Plan A is we build the commission and we start meeting, start getting data, and then in a year we have to present a report to the Commonwealth. And then we'll present that report outwardly and nationally. And Plan B is we come back in January, 100 miles per hour, and try to get this bill over the finish line. The judiciary chairs are very favorable, but in Massachusetts, just like in California, you have to have a bill that will get more than 21. In the Senate, we have 40 people, more than 21 people. And if you don't want it to get vetoed or to have any challenges, you want a majority of your caucus or a majority of the body to support it. And that might be one of the challenges, is that they're a little nervous. Could reparations pass when I talked about this conservative Dem space in an election year in Massachusetts? Because we have very purple districts in Massachusetts, and people don't realize this, that most people will pick up a ballot. 45% of our population is independent. Will pick up a ballot based on an issue area, and it's a very divisive climate currently in the country.
Yeah, no doubt. We're talking with Massachusetts State Senator Liz Miranda. It is Freedmen Friday on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Finding a path to a meaningful career, one where you're making an impact and making enough money, it can be tough. There's one path, though, that many young adults are landing on that leads them to careers where they can work outdoors, protect our environment, take on climate change, and get paid while they train. It's the California Conservation Corps. You just have to be 18 through 25 years old to enroll, or a U.S. military veteran through age 29, and you have to be a California resident. That's it. There's no education requirement, no employment history needed. Some Corps members need to finish up high school. Others are college grads. But during their 1 year of service, all CCC Corps members can earn the work experience and certifications needed to become a wildland firefighter, forestry technician, install solar, or build trails in our state parks. Learn how you can enroll at ccc.ca.gov. Do this for you. Become the person you want to be through the California Conservation Corps.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Go to hims.com/joy. Through HIMS, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, and the process is 100% online. To start your free online visit, go to hims.com/joy. That's HIMS.com/JOY.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chuchas opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chuchas Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
When you turn to the Employment Development Department, we'll help you get there. Whether it's support for you and your family while you find a new job, or the resources to focus on your recovery after illness or injury, we can help you move forward. From support while you bond with your newborn, to helping serve your family while your partner serves our country. Your EDD. We'll help you get there. For more information, visit edd.ca.gov.
This is it. Shop the Lowe's Closeout event to get up to 70% off select major appliances for your home. Plus, get up to 60% off select patio furniture and accessories for your outdoor spaces. So hurry into your local store today because these deals are too good to last. Shop them now before they're gone because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 8/7 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
I spray and scrub, but the soap scum in my bathtub is still there.
I spray and scrub, but the burnt sauce on my stovetop sticks around.
Sprays can leave grime behind, but new Mr. Clean Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser combines the scrubbing power of an eraser with the cleaning power of Dawn to melt away tough messes on contact.
Just wet, squeeze, and erase.
Stop spraying, start erasing, and clean with more magic than ever with new Ultra Foamy Magic Eraser.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate meets a scholarly match.
And it is Freedmen Friday. We're so thankful to State Senator Miranda for spending this hour with us and also agreeing to take some of your calls. She's got 2 bills right now in motion to try to create a state reparations commission in Massachusetts. There's already a Boston City Commission, and as you pointed out, Senator, a couple of smaller cities also have their own commissions. Part of what I see is widespread momentum. Let's go to Jeff calling from Culver City. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, good morning, Dominique, your call screener, and Miss Miranda. Yes, Miss Miranda, you're right. The state of Massachusetts kept detailed, immaculate records during the slave trade, even though that wasn't a slave state. And I'm so glad that you and Dominique are discussing this particular topic because I was wondering what our governor, Gavin Newsom, here of California, and President Joe Biden are doing as it pertains to reparations for the ancestors of our enslaved centuries ago, especially with this newfound love, admiration, and adoration they claim for our people.
Okay, thanks,
Biden
Jeff. Yeah, I see Jeff launching off into his talking points. I do need to interject here also, Jeff, because Jeff is like a number of other well, let me not go there. A number of other black Republicans and so-called independents who have this weird idea that Republicans are going to deliver reparations, even though they've shown no signs of doing that. In fact, they've done nothing but try to block state legislation. I didn't hear the word reparations coming out of Donald Trump's mouth last night, even though he said almost every other word in his vocabulary. So he droned on and on for 93 minutes. But, I welcome you to answer his question. I just think it's so ironic that there are black folks that think Republicans will deliver reparations when they've done nothing but block it. Our governor, love him or don't, signed the bill to create a reparations task force in California. I would love to see Biden do an executive order, but if you were talking about the momentum for reparations, so far, almost all of it has been created by Democrats and the people who are their constituents and push them to do it, us.
Let's be honest. One thing he did say, right, we did keep good records. Massachusetts does have the archives, and they haven't done anything with it. We do have records of all the ships. We have records of most descendants who came to this country, most people who came as Africans and their descendants, and we haven't done anything. Neither party really has moved the needle on reparations. The people have moved the needle on reparations, right?
Yeah, that's
true.
And so
to assume that.
However, I mean, if we would have, but if we would have had a Republican governor in this state, I seriously doubt that task force would have moved forward. Is my point.
Yeah.
A Governor Pete Wilson, a Governor Ronald Reagan.
The Democratic governor definitely will do it more. And that's why we hope with Maura Healey, our first woman and our first openly gay governor, that we will see a momentum here that's different than having a white male Republican governor in Charlie Baker, who was in office for 8 years.
But back to your point about, and Jeff's point about these records, this record keeping is very important. I mean, that is part of how you build a case, right?
Yes, and I think that the point about building a case, right, and here's the important piece about pushing things. I always tell people that public discourse and public opinion push public policy, right? When something like, I can remember when George Floyd was murdered, right? Massachusetts kept saying, well, it didn't happen here. We don't have a problem with police. But because of the people's will, in 6 months, we had comprehensive police reform. And what we learned is that Massachusetts was one of 4 states that didn't even have a way to license and de-license officers. So they would get in trouble in one police department, become a correctional officer in a prison, and become a correctional officer in another state or officer in another state or town, and they would basically get a slap on their wrist, right? And so with reparations, the same thing I think applies, that we have to encourage the will of the people to not only push me as a Black woman to file reparative justice legislation, but to push their senators and their reps to support them. Black people live everywhere in this country, and Black people live everywhere in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And so advocacy is a very important piece. But I think this is asinine to think that a party that has gutted the Supreme Court, that has gutted a women's right to choose, that has gutted DEI and affirmative action, give or take, what else they're going to do, it would be the party that would deliver reparations. I just think that that's so silly.
Yeah, I mean, and so I guess, the clock is ticking. So let me get to how can we help you, or what ought we be doing in our own location, whether it's California, Massachusetts, or any state in between, to move the needle on reparations.
Say that one more time. Sorry, I did not hear you.
What should we be doing, whether we're in Massachusetts, California, or anywhere in between, to keep the momentum going around reparations?
I always tell people another thing, that we usually respond as elected officials when we get 3 calls or 3 to 5 calls or emails on an issue. The power of the written word is incredibly important. Sending letters, sending emails, making phone calls to members of the Judiciary Committee and the chairs of the Judiciary Committee would be incredibly helpful. Doing briefings, which we've done coming to the State House to talk about that this is incredibly important. Even though we have 10 days, one of the things that we're putting into the pipeline is trying to encourage this network. When I had shared earlier that some of these calls in Massachusetts get 250 people. If we can get those 250 people that live in all different cities and towns to email, call, and write not only the judiciary chairs, but their own senators and reps to say that it's a priority, then it can be pushed to at least be voted out favorably, so that way we can be able to start the work of the commission sooner than later.
And Molly Bell is asking, is this commission inclusive of a study that's part of what you're doing, similar to what California did?
Yes, that's the study. Some people are annoyed by that, but I actually think in the case of reparations, there's so much that we need to uncover, so much that we need to pull together, and bringing people together, centralized on doing the research and doing the listening sections and pulling it together is going to be an important piece of the step. And I also say to people, it's just a commission. It's not like we're going to start paying people tomorrow, right? And so the threat of what they really fear is that they'll have to pay back what is owed, and that's trillions of dollars to Black people and their descendants.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the work that you're doing. If folks want to follow you and your travels and trajectory as an elected and as an activist, what should we do?
As an activist, I think what's really important is still there's a lot of Americans, including Black Americans, who don't understand reparations. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and I encourage anyone that cares about the issue to continuously push for wider education among people. Because if we don't know what we're asking for, we're never going to get what we need.
Well said. And I think on Twitter, you're at Liz for Boston. Is that right?
Yes, at Liz for Boston, Senator Liz Miranda on Instagram and Facebook. Really easy to find. You can actually Google State Senator Liz Miranda, and all my information will come up for the State House.
Thank you so much for the conversation and for the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much for inviting me today, and have a great show. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. News, traffic, and sports, and then you get a call, and you get a call, and you get a call. Call me now, KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Flights across the U.S. are being grounded this morning due to communication issues. The FAA says airlines like Delta, United, American, and Allegiant asked Black men to become